Welcome to the Market Intelligence Power Forecast Briefing. Here we'll recap activity in the U.S. power markets and utility sector, highlighting what to look out for in the near future. In 2018, we saw a lot of generating capacity retire, including coal and gas-fired generation. While we expect the pace to slow down, we do have announcements for additional retirements in the future. With capacity leaving the U.S. market over the next 3 to 5 years, it's fair to wonder if we're setting ourselves up for generation shortfalls. The Market Intelligence Power Forecast, updated as of year-end 2018, shows most major regions will experience net loss of generation over the next 3 years. We expect the continued development of wind and solar plants may mitigate some of the shortfall. And while these resources are cost-effective, it isn't clear if these resources can be brought online at a rate that keeps pace with the loss of older generation capacity. 2018 was a tough year for coal retirements. A lot of capacity retired in 2018, 11,800 megawatts to be exact. And while we've heard a lot about coal-fired generation retiring, there was also a lot of gas-fired peaking generation that shut down for good. Nuclear plants are struggling as well, as new generation using inexpensive natural gas and low-cost renewable energy each pressure wholesale electricity prices downward. Here we can see the impact of the electricity demand slowdown. Low load growth postpones the impact of generation retirements by several years. In fact, many regions rely on flat or negative load growth resulting from conservation, distributed generation, and microgrids to keep their systems in balance. California and New England lead the way in this regard. But relying on low load growth may also leave us vulnerable if load growth should turn out higher than expected. We expect that future generation retirements will continue to tilt heavily to older coal plants, though not at the same rate as 2018. The 18 gigawatts of coal retirements we project over the next 4 years will be concentrated in PJM, New England, and the Western U.S., and we expect each of these regions could be pressured by the sudden loss of generation. The impact on thermal steam coal markets will be substantial as well. Coal plants forecast to be retired account for 35 million tons per year of steam coal demand, while increased natural gas generation and lower natural gas prices could displace 100 to 140 million tons per year of additional coal demand. How does this aggregate loss of generation play out on a regional basis? When accounting for the on-peak contribution of wind and solar, plus planned new generation, most markets are forecast to experience net loss of peak capacity over the next 3 years. Here's a rundown of the top 5 markets of interest. PJM is experiencing a net loss of generation for the first time as investment in gas-fired power plants slows down. ISO New England is another region where coal plants have come under fire. CAISO, gas plants are retiring rather than retrofit their cooling systems. New York ISO, the Indian Point nuclear plant retirements are only partially offset by new gas generation. Looking at all of these markets, New England is the only market where we expect net additions of capacity over the next 3 years. So what's the bottom line? Nearly 12 gigawatts of net capacity will be lost across the U.S. over the next 3 years, an amount which could grow if new capacity isn't developed soon in regions that will fall below their planning reserve margins, regions such as ERCOT in Texas, the Midwest ISO, and the Desert Southwest. So the question then becomes, can expansion of green energy make up for all the capacity that we expect will be lost over the next 3 years? In a word, no. What we don't know yet, though, is does green energy have to make up for the full amount of retired capacity? 2 points of data are instructive. First of all, ERCOT managed its market last summer with a combination of wind and natural gas, despite record peak demand and despite retiring 4 gigawatts of coal generation. 2, California, on the other hand, is struggling to replace natural gas peakers and storage facilities with solar and batteries, despite high levels of development in the state. With its largest utility now in bankruptcy, supply problems in CAISO could get worse. In conclusion, for better or worse, transformation of the U.S. generating fleet is underway. Old fossil-based technology is being forced out of the market by high costs and obsolescence, while wind and solar technology form the backbone of future capacity additions. The question becomes, how much disruption will electricity markets see as a result of this transition? Thank you for joining us, and tune in for our next Power Forecast briefing.